We're very honored to host Kathy Bazan from the Tualatin Business Recovery Center. The presentation today will be recorded and later available via Impact Beaverton YouTube channel as a resource for your small business. We will also make the Spanish audio available through our talented interpreter, Jessica Dover, here with us. Thank you, Jessica. After the presentation, we will open up for Q&A. As the presentation rolls, please put your question in the chat box, and we will do our best to address every one of them. Kathy, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. I am a credit and lending specialist, and so for that reason, I was asked to put these presentations together. So, what do you need to know about building your credit score? The BRC, as I mentioned, the Business Recovery Center, is grant funded. So all of Emma's work and my work with you is free, it's confidential, and it's one-on-one. So we help you with any stage of your business, whether it's finding loans or grants, whether it's writing a business plan or helping you export. We're all here to help you. As I mentioned, I am a certified credit and lending specialist, and I am going to be your guide on this journey to you building a better credit score. You are not alone. I want to let you know it's okay. 72% of business owners do not know their business credit score. By the end of this, hopefully, we'll be able to give you the information you need. Why do you want to have good business credit as opposed to good personal credit? So they're two different scores. Just want to make sure you know that. If you have questions about how the score is arrived at, please go back to last week's presentation, which is all about what elements go into making your business credit score, and also what those credit score ranges are. Okay, so what can good business credit do for you? Well, it can help you apply for funding. That could be a business credit card, an SBA loan, the the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, EIDL, bank loans, equity loans, the PPP. I just had a client just recently who actually got turned down for an EIDL because her business credit was too low. So be careful about this. You do want to raise that credit score. You can get better terms on vendor financing. That would be a company like Uline, as a for instance, selling you shipping products. And I am going to go into this in a little more depth in a minute. But selling you those products, not for cash the minute that you order them, but on what's called terms. So you might have 30 days to pay for those shipping materials that you ordered. So if you can get a lower interest rate from Uline or any other creditor when you're buying on terms, it saves you money down the road. This does increase your chance of getting government contracts. And the US government is the largest customer in the world. So you do want to be aware that your business might be able to sell your products or services to the US government. If you have questions about that, please reach out to Emma or to me. Good credit can also reduce the cost of your insurance and your bonding. And that is money that you're paying to an insurer or to a bonding company to help protect your company. So how do you qualify for business credit? Well, 41% of all business owners who know their credit scores get funding. Because if you know your credit score, you know if you're qualified to apply for that funding in that amount. So you increase your chances of getting the money you want and need. 48% of business owners will obtain business credit based on a unique combination of their personal and their business credit scores. First thing you need to do is separate your personal and your business credit. And this you do by separating your personal assets from your business assets. You can form a legal entity in Oregon. This might be a limited liability company or a corporation, or you can go the less expensive route and go with the doing business as. That's $50 in Oregon. This in other states is called a trade name. It does not legally separate your business assets from your personal assets. I'm going to explain why this is important. If you were in a business where potentially somebody could get cranky one day and sue you, either for your products or your services, you want to be thinking ahead of time about getting an actual legal entity. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm just going to do this briefly. You may want to look at getting a limited liability company, which is the least expensive way of forming a wall between your business assets and your personal assets. Heaven forbid anybody ever sues you, but if you've got a limited liability company or a corporation, it is harder for them to sue for your business assets and your personal assets. You've put up a wall between them. Does this protect you 100%? No, but it's certainly better than just having a doing business as, because when you have a doing business as in Oregon or a trade name in any other state, there's no division between your personal and business assets, which means somebody can sue you for everything you own. Hopefully, this never happens. Whether you get a limited liability company or a doing business as, the day that you file and the day that these are granted to you actually become your business start date. Once you've got a business start date, then you start establishing business credit. Once you have your business name, whether it's an LLC, a corporation, a doing business as, you can then go on to the IRS site. It's free to get your employer identification number. Your employer identification number serves as a social security number for your business. And that way you can start establishing credit in the name of the business, in the name of the EIN or the number of the EIN, and leaving your personal credit out of it, which is what you want to do. The other reason you need the EIN is if you're going to start a bank account, the bank, the credit union, the financial institution, whatever it is probably going to ask for your business name and proof that this is your business name, as well as your EIN. We actually have two financial gurus on the call with us today, so they may chime in at the end of this and confirm what I'm saying. Tell you anything else you need to know as you're going through this. So, what are the steps? Hence the steps, see the steps here. How can you improve your business credit score? Set up a legal entity or get a doing business as. Get your EIN. Then you want to start a business checking account. You can call local banks, credit unions, other financial institutions. Find out if they have free business checking. Many of them do. Some of them charge you. It just kind of depends. I happen to love the words free business checking, so I would hold out until I found one of those. You can do whatever you want. Often, if you have multiple accounts at one bank, then one account becomes free. So never be afraid to ask. You want to open the account with a balance which, according to the IRS, is adequately capitalized, and that's in quotation marks. In most cases, this is $300 to $500 or $200 to $500. Whoops, back. What they're looking for, what the IRS is looking for, is that you have enough money in this account for the first 3 months of your expenses. They're not expecting you to go out and buy the top of the line website. They're expecting you to go out and buy business cards and maybe a magnetic sign for the side of your car. So that's why that amount of $200 to $500 is usually sufficient. If you put less money than that in the account, the IRS might think what you're doing is a hobby. And if it's a hobby, it's not a business. If it's not a business, you can't take the tax deductions. And that's where having a business really helps out. Now, let's take another option here. Let's say that you're starting a business that's going to be developing software, and your competitor is going to be Microsoft. Well, you're going to be a whole lot bigger than what I was talking about with that $200 to $500. So to be adequately capitalized to compete with a company like Microsoft, you're going to have to start that account with a whole lot more money. Another step to creating your business credit score is getting your DUNS number. A DUNS number is issued by Dun and Bradstreet. You can get a free DUNS number. There's no reason to pay for this thing, kids. By calling that number there and tell them you are applying for a federal contract or a grant. They will often get you your DUNS number in one day, and it's still free. Otherwise, there could be a delay or there could be a fee. So there are a lot of government grants out there. There are a lot of government contracts out there. Emma and I both have lists of these. So please feel free to get your DUNS number and know that you're building your business. Now, you do want to take some more steps to set up your infrastructure. You do want to get a business address. Now, if you don't have an office, that's fine, not a problem. You've got a couple of options. Number one, you can get a post office box at the US Post Office, or you can get a mailbox at a private mailbox center. UPS, there are several other competing organizations out there that have private mailboxes. The wonderful thing about having a private mailbox is that instead of the address being P.O. Box 2453, Sedona, Arizona, it's actually the street address. So it might be 1189 South Highway 89A, Sedona, Arizona, Suite 212. Sometimes having a private mailbox and being able to use the street address of that center and then call your mailbox suite, whatever it is, makes you look like you're actually in an office building. All right, a few more steps. Google Voice is a number which can ring on your cell phone, but it's a different number. So it could be a different area code. It could be a number right here in Oregon. But when you see that number come on your phone and it says call to this other Google Voice number, then you can actually know that it's a business call and pick up the phone and say, "Good afternoon, this is Catherine from the Business Development Center," instead of "Hi." So it gives you the opportunity to greet your customers professionally, unlike the way you might greet your aunt. You can get a website. Now, many businesses, when they start out, can't afford a web designer. That's okay, it's cool. You can set up a free Google website, or you can do a very inexpensive Weebly or Wix website. Both Weebly and Wix have very easy step-by-step instructions for setting up a website. So once you've got a website, you can be found on the World Wide Web. You look like you're a bigger, more competitive company. When you set up your website, make sure that you can add a business email to it. So it might be your name at the name of the company. It also might be info at the name of the company or sales at the name of the company. So you can personalize that email address. It then is totally separate from your personal emails, and people know that you are going to be addressing them in a business context. Depending upon what kind of a business you have, there may be licenses and permits that you need. Probably you're going to need a business license in the city where you're setting up your business. Start with City Hall. There usually is an economic development department. They can guide you to where you need to go within the city to get whatever licenses and permits you need. Depending upon your state, you may need to register with the Department of Revenue to pay sales tax and/or payroll taxes if these are necessary for your business. You can set up your accounting in addition to QuickBooks. There's FreshBooks, there's Xero. There are even people who use Excel. So there are a lot of different ways to get your accounting set up and ready to go. Now, you may want to start thinking about applying for a business credit card. First place to go is exactly where you're banking. So wherever you've got your business checking account, try with them first. You already have a relationship with that bank. They have an idea of your cash flow, and they may be willing to issue you a business credit card. Another option would be to go to nav.com. You can set up a profile there. They will actually send you your free business credit reports, which is helpful, but they will also match you to other credit cards that will report to the credit agency. So this continues to improve your credit score. WalletHub.com is another place where you can find lists of very ethical business credit cards. There are a lot of predatory cards out there, so be careful. Okay, you may be wondering, why do you want a business credit card? Well, it is foundational to establishing your credit. And even though you may not be using the card very much right now, the fact that you use it at all and you pay it off builds your credit score, which allows a bank or other lender down the road to see that you have a track record of making payments. They're more likely to give you a loan in the future if you've established a track record. The other reason is that at tax time, if all of your business credit card receipts are in one account, a whole lot easier to do your taxes. All right. If I'm going to tell you about business credit cards, I'm also going to tell you the downside. The downside is, what happens if you give one of those to an employee? Well, while it allows the employee more freedom to get gas, buy supplies while they're out on the road, there's also a downside because you've basically given this employee the right to charge whatever they want to charge. There was a horror story that I ran into where one new hire took the company credit card, went out and charged $1,000 at Best Buy, Amazon, etc. He bought things for his own home. He then quit and stuck the business owner with the bill. So you've got a problem. Just trust your employees and trust only the ones you really trust with a business credit card. Okay, another way to build your credit is to start accounts with vendors that offer net 30 and report to the bureaus. I'm talking about the 3 credit bureaus. So you can actually get terms from a company like Uline or Deluxe, pay the bill off, and they will report your good behavior to the credit bureaus. So this helps you build your business credit score. Check your NAICS code. The North American Industry Classification System identifies different business niches and actually estimates how many employees they have and how much money they are generating in a particular year. So it's very important that you have the right NAICS code. If you have questions, reach out to Emma, reach out to me. We're happy to make sure you're in the right category. Credit bureaus sometimes will put you in the wrong category. One client got turned down over and over and over again for loans, and he couldn't figure out why. When his credit report was pulled, we found that his NAICS code was wrong. It put him in a category that was much smaller, had lower cash flow, and based on that, that's why his loans were being turned down. Once we got his NAICS code changed on his credit report, he got approved. So I mentioned vendors that will offer net 30 to you and report to the credit bureaus, there's 3 of them. We have a number of them here. So you can look at this list and say, hey, I need tools and safety supplies and janitorial supplies. I'll go set up an account with Granger. I'll pay for whatever I buy within 30 days. Granger will report to the credit bureaus, and that will increase my score. So you will be getting this presentation in the recording, and you can certainly go through any of these. Most important thing, to increase your credit score, pay on time, or even better, pay before the due date. Also, paying a little bit more than the minimum due is one of the best ways to increase your credit score quickly. Sorry about that. All right. About 20% of business owners actually have incorrect information on their business credit reports. For that reason, it's very important to get a copy of your credit reports at least once a year. NAV will give them to you for free. As I mentioned in the last presentation, there are several other locations that will give you these reports for free. But always look at them, find out if there's anything you need to correct. If there is, be persistent. Write to the credit bureaus, write to the creditor, send a copy of the letter that you sent to the creditor to the credit bureaus to prove that you are protesting this wrong information. Monitor your credit. One woman discovered that a credit bureau was reporting information about a business with a similar name to hers, but this business was in an entirely different state. Unfortunately, that business wasn't doing too well. So the derogatory information from that business in another state was bringing down her credit score, and she couldn't qualify to buy the condo she wanted. Once she got it corrected, then she bought her dwelling. It used to be, in the old days, that every time there was an inquiry on your business credit, you lost a couple of points. Now, what an inquiry is a creditor, a credit card, a car loan, a home loan, somebody who potentially is going to lend you money in one form or another. When they make an inquiry and ask for a copy of your credit report, that request is called an inquiry. It used to be that for every inquiry you had out there, your report decreased a couple of points. So, example, if you went to a car dealership and applied for credit there, the car dealership often did what was called pray and spray. And what that meant was they would send your credit application out to 20 or 30 banks trying to get funding for you to buy this particular vehicle. When that happened, you multiply 20 banks times 2 or 3 points each, you've suddenly got a big ding on your credit report. That has changed. If you are doing this kind of credit searching within a 2-week period, then your credit report will only show one inquiry, even if you did apply to 20 different banks and lenders. So that's an advantage that we've got now that our people before us did not. Okay, how do you dispute a mistake on your business credit report? Well, if you're a client of NAV or Legal Shield, and there are a couple of other organizations as well, if you report that there's a mistake, these entities, whether it's NAV or Legal Shield, will actually go to bat for you and try to get these mistakes corrected. You can, of course, write an email or a letter yourself to both the credit bureau with the wrong information as well as to the creditor. And just keep it up. Once a month, send another set of letters until it's finally removed. One thing I want you to do is I want you to think like a lender. You need to understand, what does a lender want from you if you come to them and ask to get a loan? Well, they're looking to find out, do you have a variety of accounts? Do you have different kinds of account? A car loan, a credit card, not just all a bunch of credit cards and not just all a bunch of vendor accounts. So you want to spread things out. Do you have a consistent payment record? What is your time in business? In other words, what is the start date of your business, which you would have gotten from getting a DBA or an LLC or even a corporation? So all of these different factors go into building a narrative that you want to tell the lender. What else can you do? Well, one of the ways you can protect yourself is that you can check the business credit of any potential client, a vendor, a lender, or a partner. The reason for doing this is that, unfortunately, especially with the pandemic, we have a lot of businesses that are financially struggling and might not be able to pay you for what they buy from you. But the case that I'm giving here is actually from about 10 years ago. A man had a sign making business. If he had checked the credit of another business owner in town who wanted to order a sign from him, he would have discovered that the man who wanted to purchase the sign had a terrible track record and didn't pay his creditors. Unfortunately, the young man took the contract to create the sign, billed the man, and never got paid. So, check. Now, I'm going to give you 3 strategies for building your business credit score. Deluxe is a company that prints business cards, designs logos, does business checks, and personal checks. That may be why you have heard of them. If you've ever ordered a box of checks from your bank, it's likely it came from Deluxe, and right on the top of the box it says Deluxe. When you open a business account with them, they normally will start a business account with a $200 credit limit for you. Again, buy a small amount, pay it off before the due date. Deluxe does report to the credit bureaus and thus can increase your score. Strategy number 2, get a loan and pay it back. I'm listing a number of different lenders here. These are called non-traditional lenders. What I mean by this is it's not a bank, it's not a credit union. These are other organizations that have set up to be able to loan you money. Now, each one of these is a nice, ethical organization. There are a lot of lenders out there that are called predatory. They charge you very high interest rates. So just be careful. Please consult Emma, consult me. Make sure that everything's okay before you sign on the dotted line. A nano loan is $5,000 or less. MISO, which is in Portland, gives loans for $5,000 or less. So it's a great way to start out. Microloans are $50,000 or less, and the Oregon Association of Minority Entrepreneurs, or AWAME, will give loans up to $50,000. Last time I checked, the interest rate was 5%, so that's a very good interest rate. Craft 3 does loans of $25,000 and up. Business Impact Northwest is very, very similar to very similar to Craft 3. Axion is different. It is really an exciting organization. It's a lot of fun to work with. They were started about 30 years ago. and worked primarily within the Hispanic community, giving nano loans, so $5,000 or less. The individuals who took out loans to start those businesses way back in time did an exceptionally good job of paying those loans back on time with interest. And since then, Accion has been able to get a number of very large grants from Wells Fargo and other institutions. As a result, they now loan up into the millions, but they are open to anybody of any ethnicity. You can call them up, you can start talking to them about a loan. By the way, the Oregon Association of Minority Entrepreneurs now loans to non-minorities. So everybody is welcome at any of these organizations. Strategy. What I want you to think about is applying for and taking a small loan from any of these. Pay each month before the due date. If you can, pay a little bit more than what's due. And that paying accurately over time will raise your credit score and allow you to get a bigger loan from that institution or a bigger loan from somewhere else. 3, get a business credit card. I mentioned nav.com, wallethub.com, and of course, checking with the credit union or the financial institution where you have your business checking account. Great way to start. Again, if you're going to NAV, they'll match you to potential credit cards that do report to the bureaus. And those are cards that you do qualify for, or you're pretty close to qualifying for, I'll put it that way. So you do want to do the same thing, buy a small amount, pay it off, keep doing this over and over, and your credit score will soar. And that's how you build your business credit score. So, do we have any questions? Emma and I are here to help.
Thank you, Kathy. Great presentation. Way too much information. We are so glad that it's being recorded so that we can review later.
Laura or Yvette, if you want to jump in and tell us about your financial institution, we'd love to hear from you.
So we are a small community bank. We put our focus on the community. We do have business, checking, savings, merchant service, credit cards. We don't have a free business account, but we do if you have $2,500 or more in the account and it doesn't drop below that, then it is a free business account. But if you have less than that, our monthly fee is $7. So it's pretty minimal on the fee for the business account. We also have very personalized service. We are located in Tualatin, so depending on your location needs, you know, a lot of our customers may work clearly off of online, and we don't see them come in our branch. And then we have some customers that come in our branch almost every day. But when you do call for service, you do call and get service at locally at our branch. So we are a good bank for small to medium businesses because we do offer the personalized service.
And I can speak to Laura's credentials and qualifications because I work with her. The other thing that I would say is that if there is a fee of $7, like we're talking about here for the business account, that is probably deductible from your taxes at the end of the year. So you end up with a free account, even though you may have to wait a little bit.
Thank you, Laura. And with us is Yvette Falcone with Community Lending Works. Go ahead, Laura. Go ahead, Yvette.
Thank you, Emma. Hi. Yes, I'm with Community Lending Works. We are a CDFI, and we support small businesses with loans. We have loans up to $100,000 for business that are already operating, or for anyone that would like to start a business. So we work with social security numbers and with IT numbers. So you are any business is very welcome to ask for any information that would like to, if they are looking for access to capital. I will put my information if somebody is interested, and we provide services to all Oregon. So no matter where the business is located, we can help them. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I'm so tickled we've got at least 2 people from the financial world here with us today.
Kathy, I also want to add that with Impact Beaverton, we have at least three other partners that offer free one-on-one coaching for anybody, whether it's personally or also for their business, or if somebody has the goal of purchasing their first home. And it's all confidential and it's free, and also Zoom meetings, virtual meetings are also available. One of them is Metropolitan Family Services. The contact there is Mark Oliver. He is also bilingual. He will sit down with you and review your credit and give you a plan of all the different things that you need to do to repair and also increase your credit score. Another another contact is Humberto Carlos, who is also bilingual, and he's at Portland Housing Center. The services are free also if you're looking for your first home. And they also offer some additional grants and connect you with financing and from A to Z to purchasing your first home. And Alex Shokrine from Catholic Charities, some of you guys have already met him in a previous presentation. He also provides one-on-one consulting for credit building. There are some of our partners that are providing these services. Do take advantage of the services. I also I also noticed that you were talking about the NAICS code, NAICS. Most of us have never heard of the NAICS code, except for last year when we sent out several notifications about new incoming grants. They were provided by the CARES Act through the city of Beaverton or the county, the Washington County, or the state as well. And one of the requirements in the application was a NAICS code. So you had to have you have to designate a NAICS code for your business. And a lot of people didn't know where to go and why it's important. And some folks were becoming discouraged because they didn't know where to go to get that information. And so we did take on a lot of calls and helped find what your NAICS code is, because the reason it was important, the governor's executive order included specific NAICS codes that were later used for businesses that could apply for some of this funding, up to $3,000, in other occasions, $10,000 for the business owner. And so if you don't have that, if you haven't found your NAICS code, and I am told that there is some pretty big grants coming up with this new stimulus. And so if you don't know your NAICS code yet and you need help looking for that, Kathy and I can help you with that. Also, the DUNS number, I believe that is going to be required in some of the upcoming grant applications for small businesses. So do let us know. We're here to help you.
In the latest round of PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, there was a differentiation. If your NAICS code began with a 72, you could then apply for 3.5 times payroll, not 2.5 times payroll. This made a huge difference to one of my clients who happens to produce a particular type of jam and jelly. She had been misclassified by her CPA, and that was going to allow her only to get 2.5 times payroll. We were able to reclassify her where she should have been, and she got 3.5 times payroll. The difference was over $10,000 by having her in the right NAICS code. Another case of this is that in the December stimulus package, there was SBA loan forgiveness. So if you already had an SBA 7A 504 or micro loan, you could get 2 months of payments forgiven, 5 months payments forgiven, and that was dependent upon, again, your NAICS code. So one of my clients, again, had been misclassified by his CPA as a medical clinic, like a doctor would be there. And he was actually a medical spa, which is a different critter. The medical spa actually qualified for 5 months of payments forgiven, not 2. So he saved over $15,000 when we got his NAICS code changed. It's very important. You know what your NAICS code is. If you have a question, reach out to Emma, reach out to me. We'll find it for you. Okay?
¿Cuál es alguna forma de poder combinar, no sé, varios préstamos para poder alcanzar el préstamo de una casa?
Personally, and my 2 banking experts may join in on this conversation. Personally, I'd rather not see you get multiple loans, because usually when you have more than one loan, the interest rate on the first home loan is pretty good, but the interest rate on the second, third, fourth, and fifth is usually higher. So you're paying more for that money that you're borrowing. The other thing I would say is this: you may not have as much to be afraid of as you're thinking. The reason is that a house is a very large asset. Now, no lender wants to take the house back from you, but if they have to, at least they've got something they can sell. Unlike a credit card, which isn't hooked to anything, if you default on a $10,000 credit card, the bank is out a whole lot more money because there's nothing they can take back from you. Whereas with the house, at least they can sell it, they can get some of their money back. Emma mentioned a couple of different programs that help you build up to the point where you can have enough for a down payment. As to a large down payment,